of candidates. We'd like to give each of you 2 minutes to introduce yourselves and tell us why you're running for Escambia County's Commission. We begin with Mr. Ray Guillory, followed by Deb Moore, Doug Underhill, and Jean Valentino, all candidates for District 2. And we will then hear from Grover Robinson, candidate for District 4. So, starting with Mr. Guillory, if you will please give us an introduction.
Hello everyone. My name is Ray Guillory and I'm running the Escambia County Commission here in District 2. District 2 is bordered by downtown on one end, Reno T on the other end. And a lot of people don't realize this, but there's a lot of working class neighborhoods in between. I myself grew up in Warrington. I'm actually the only candidate in this race who grew up here in Escambia County. I went to Warrington Elementary School, Escambia High School, PHS. Having grown up in the area, I know many people. I had relatives that live in Myrtle Grove, friends that live in Mayfair, myself in Warrington, friends that live in Native Point. And we all seem to have the same idea. But over the last couple of years, the county and the county vision has kind of neglected and left us behind. You know, an interesting question I always get is, why are you running for office? Another interesting question that I think is better is, looking 4 years back, you have won the election, what would be your greatest achievement? I think that the greatest thing that I could achieve as a county commissioner is to be able to stand in front of a class at Warrington Elementary School and talk to the students. And be able to tell them that just because you come from this neighborhood, just because you go to this school, doesn't mean that you're a second-class citizen of Escambia County. What I want to do is refocus the county government, and especially in District 2, on rebuilding some of these older working-class neighborhoods. Warrington, Mayfair, Myrtle Grove, Penn Haven, Native Point. The things that we have done to attract businesses downtown is great, but there are opportunities in these areas of the county to do the same thing. You know, I've talked with different members of different organizations, and 350 Pensacola and many people are rebuilding. And we can do the same kind of things that we are doing downtown in certain areas of the county. And I want to bring that focus back into those working class neighborhoods for the working class people. We need to come up with a different way of doing things that include and that exclude the working class, blue collar folks in Escambia County. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now hear from Ms. Deb Moore.
Do what Sherry Myers does and just take the microphone. My name is Deb Moore. I've left some biographies up there because it's hard to put into 75 words what I've done in my life. Don't ever doubt that somebody who comes here with the military doesn't immerse themselves in this community. We do. I came here in 1981 and I've been in and out of this community, and we knew we would come back here and raise our son here. My opponent and I actually have something in common. We both graduated from high school in New Jersey. He promotes himself as somebody who was born and raised here and never left here, but he has. We both have. But we've come back, and that's what people do when they come to Pensacola. We come back because we fell in love with it. And I vowed to serve this community like I did every time I came here. I've decided to run for office because I want to change the diversity on the Board of County Commissioners. As many of you know, there is not a female on that board. I'd like to bring a well-informed female voice to the County Commission in District 2. So I'm, a little nervous. This is the largest crowd I've stood before yet. So I'm asking for your vote in Escambia County District 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Doug Underhill.
Thank you. Thanks a lot to the Pensacola Young Professionals, and thank you as well to the Greater Pensacola Chamber of Commerce. You notice not a single one of us has gotten that right since we started this today. I am Doug Underhill, and I'll be brief on my bio because you can get that on the web page or on our Facebook page. I am the son of a Navy chief. traveled around the world as a Navy brat. One of the hardest things, it should not be difficult to answer the question, where are you from? But that is hard for me to answer. And luckily, being in Pensacola, which is a Navy town, I can say, well, I'm a Navy brat, and people just go, oh, okay, I understand. I was a student at the University of Arkansas in '91 when the first Gulf War broke out. Walked out of class one day and straight into a recruiter's office. Joined the Navy following my father's footsteps, and spent the first 2 years of my career as a student at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California, doing a full immersion Arabic language and culture program. I got my first bite at the Pensacola apple when I came here as an air crewman. I came for Air Crew Candidate School. I learned a lot about how to swim and how to run and how to do push-ups in the sand, where I was also introduced to the Pensacola fire ant. I knew instantly when I was here, even as a young man, that Escambia County was going to be my home. Of course, the Navy had other plans. For the next decade, I traveled around the world serving as an Arabic translator for the Navy. I met my wife, Wendy, who's here with me today, up in Washington, D.C. while I was stationed up there. We moved here permanently in 2002, and when we pulled off of the Beltway for the last time with the U-Haul behind us, we literally laughed out loud because we knew that we were coming back home to the South. I've served as a counterterrorism officer and a cybersecurity officer, where today I'm the executive officer of the Navy Reserve cyber unit on Corey Station, as well as in my civilian capacity, I have the privilege of doing essentially the same work. I lead a phenomenal group of cyber technicians up on Corey Station. I am running because I know that Escambia County should be prospering. We simply have too much going for us here in Escambia County to be failing and to be near the pack on anything. And I see that failure as a failure of teamwork, and it's also as a failure of cooperation and collaboration. I have a long history of collaboration and building teamwork in my teams, and I think that now is the time for me to do that here in Escambia County. I know that where we have collaboration, we have teamwork. Teamwork grows cooperation, and in exchange, that grows our prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pensacola Young Professionals and everyone else who's sponsoring the program today. This election, when I win, will be my third term and 12 years in office. Why am I running? It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you. No matter what happens, let me embrace this moment and personally thank all of you. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve you. I had to double check with my wife and say, okay, honey, you ready for me to do it a third term? And she said, thumbs up, all systems go. And all systems are go. We're so proud of what we've done, and that's the theme of our campaign this year. A lot done, more to come. We reduced the county's debt $52 million in the last 7.5 years. We did it without raising taxes. We brought over 4,000 new jobs to town. Navy Federal Credit Union is but one. We have helped and worked in collaborative fashion in a team-spirited approach with the city and offered them $8 million recently for STS Aerospace, which we await their arrival. We went to Germany, Hamburg, Berlin, Farnborough, and Paris to shake the tree. My fellow commissioners honored me with as being point man for economic development and economic projects. And Airbus said it perfectly. Commissioner, what are you going to do to entice the subcontract vendor network of Airbus to come to town? And the answer to them was the same as the answer to you. Improve the job environment, the quality of life, infrastructure, education, roads, potholes, ditches, drainage, and 1,000 other things I probably don't have time to mention. Go to my website, genevalentino.com, please. The accomplishments are just too numerous to mention, but I'll tell you the big one what just happened this morning is I got word from Commander of the base, Chief Hoskins, Captain Hoskins, and we're going to reconstruct White Island out off the shoreline of Bayou Davenport. My time is up. I'd be honored to serve you for more years.
Mr. Grover Robinson. Hi, I'm Grover Robinson, and I'm running for Escambia County Commissioner District 4. I look around PYP. I was going to say, Brian Spencer said it earlier, I said, I was a member of this organization the first time I ever ran, but then y'all kicked me out. But certainly it's a privilege to be back here again today, be a part of this. This is a great organization. I returned to Pensacola at the age of 25 back in 1995, and there was not this type of organization. Many of us worked through to kind of see something, but this is y'all taking it to a new level. It's a very good thing for our communities. One of the things that I see that's positive happening here in Escambia County, and why I'm looking to run again and seek to be your commissioner for District 4. On the back, you're going to find a little bit about me, at least the last 7.5 years, 8 years I've been a commissioner, what we've been able to do, and the positive things we've been able to do to make this community forward. I hope you have the opportunity to take one of those. But I want to talk to you about why I'm running today. The reason I'm running, one of the main things is when I first became commissioner, we were on the heels of the WD debacle, when we were the joke of basically the state of Florida because we'd sent 4 commissioners to jail. At that point, it was very low belief in what Escambia County was. I've worked very hard and very diligently across the state to make things happen. I've been now elected, and that is an elected, unappointed or worked position, but for the president of the Florida Association of Counties. Only the 3rd time we've had somebody from the Central Time Zone in the 40-plus year organization that we've had. So in order to do that and go forward, I had to tell my wife that yes, we were going to be seeking a 3rd term. But I think that's what's important to move Escambia County forward, to give Escambia County that position. The other thing is, you heard Sherry Myers talk about the Restore Act. I was very involved in the drafting and the passing of that act. But I also serve as the chairman of the Florida Gulf Consortium. What's going to be happening over the next year, and the next 4 years, is going to be very important. Projects will continue to go on for 15 to 20 years, but it will be the planning stages that happen will be important. And the final reason that I'm doing it, we have a number of issues facing us, whether it's from the recent flood, the jail, a variety of other things. But I think we need individuals who can work in collaboration. Certainly I'm a city resident, but I work for the county, and certainly I believe that collaboration is important. I also believe it's very collaborative that we continue to work with those counties to the east of us and those counties to the west of us. And wherever I've been trying to create that spirit of cooperation, because I believe that will help us move forward the entire Gulf Coast, which will raise up Escambia County and the city of Pensacola. So please ask that you vote for Grover Robinson on November 4th. Thank you. Again, thank you all for taking the time to be with us this evening. We'll now ask several more targeted questions, and you will each have 1.5 minutes to respond. Mr. Guillory will answer first, followed by Ms. Moore, Mr. Underhill, Mr. Valentino, and finally Mr. Robinson. And our first question is this. If elected, what steps will you take to improve the business climate of Escambia County and make our area attractive to companies and entrepreneurs?
There are many things that we can do in Escambia County, and many things that we can do overall in conjunction with the city of Pensacola and Escambia County to improve business climate here. One of the first things that we need to work on, one of the first things that come to mind to me in District 2, being a parent of a child that goes to Warrington Elementary School. We have one of the worst school districts in District 2 in the whole state of Florida. Now, when we talk about bringing jobs and people into Escambia County, we talk about education, we talk about, for me, if I was a corporate head of a company and I was thinking about relocating here to Escambia County, we start talking about my children, where they're going to be educated, and what kind of education system we have. I'm not running for school board, but there are many things that you can do as a county commissioner to help supplement education. We have available a lot of different resources, community outreach programs. We have community centers where we can get business people and groups and organizations like churches and unions and involved in education and mentoring programs. And that's what I would like to do. I think that being a county commissioner, you can be a mentor not only to the students but to the business community to get them involved in education in Escambia County. Because until we fix that problem, no amount of economic development is going to help the working class people in Escambia County without them having the job skills and the education to take these jobs. Thank you.
you. Next, Ms. Moore.
Okay, everybody learned that red doesn't really mean red. Okay, to produce a better business climate, actually we're doing great things in our education system. Workforce education is working well in our schools. We also have Career Source Escambia, which is producing great results with adults in our community that have missed the market in high school, and there are great training programs for them. Your own chamber has a workforce development program that is making its mark with businesses out there. And also, we have the Small Business Development Center out at UWF. So those programs are working well to bring businesses, to encourage businesses, and to bring jobs or to train our workforce. Then we have to focus on infrastructure. Those areas will help create a business climate to attract businesses to our area. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we move on to Mr. Underhill.
Thank you. I hope my time doesn't start when they do that. Okay, when we talk about economic development, we need to be thinking of it in the metaphor of a sports car. There's two ways that you can make this car go faster. You can pump more power under the hood, or you can reduce drag. Pumping money under the hood, pumping more power under the hood, I liken that to jet setting around Europe and trying to go and tell these folks why they should come here. But the problem with doing that is that they cannot hear what we are saying over the volume of our actions. When we tell them that Pensacola and Escambia County is a forward-thinking community, and then they look online and they see about the things that we're suffering with here and how we're not really solving those problems, which is kind of kicking that can down the road, then all of the effort that we put into the whining and dining is for naught because of the volume of our actions that they see. Okay? What we as the county commissioners need to be doing is we need to leave the business community to put more power under the hood, and we will focus on removing this drag. And that drag are things like our infrastructure issues that we have in form of the flooding, the schools, and underfunding our police and those kind of things that create the metrics that give us the kind of numbers that those companies want to see in a community, the kind of numbers that would support the sales pitch that we're giving. Thank you.
Mr. Valentino.
Well, I won't deal in metaphors, I'll deal in facts. The facts are that we had the educational system at our side in Europe, and we convinced our subcontract vendor network of Airbus that we were serious about reforming education in this community and doing what was essential to bringing these jobs to town. Why do I want to run again? Because there's a lot more to do. There's a lot of jobs yet to come to this community. It started with a collaboration with STS Aerospace, for example, in Pensacola alone. But the 4,000 jobs actually started with the collaboration of the economic development team at the Chamber of Commerce. Economic development in this community has morphed into a fine-tuned engine, if I'm to use metaphors. And this engine is evidenced by the fact that on October 4th, 2007, with less than a year on the job, I wrote the first ordinance of law in Escambia County that creates incentives for businesses to come to town. Not just new businesses and strangers moving in, but to incentivize those that are here in this room and the relatives that are here, that are not here in this room, that want to stay in this community and grow in this community. It is essential that while we draw people in from around the world to become part of a new Pensacola, a new Escambia County, that we support, that we create the right incentives for those that are here long before many of us. And so that mix of collaboration has been the success we've had. I'm proud of that success.
John, I'll skip the introduction there. But I do want to say, one thing, government can't necessarily create jobs. I don't think it needs to, but it needs to create an environment that is inducing to create jobs. That is what we should be doing. And I believe at the county, the levels where we start with that, I can tell you it's not just about what I would do, it's what I have done. We've put forward, I've been on the Pensacola State College Foundation Board, and we certainly partner with Pensacola State to be dealing with some of those educational issues that we need to be doing workforce training. That is an important element of what we need to do. The other issue, as mentioned, was infrastructure. Clearly, we've got to continue to put forward other infrastructure. You certainly heard some of the things coming from the city council members that we make this a better, nicer community, easier to walk, easier to get around with. We can do that. We've been doing that. I've done that on Olive Road, where we've taken the road that needed perhaps more pedestrian access than anything, took it away from the state, and beginning to that process to have that be able to have sidewalks and moving forward. But the final part is the collaboration that we need to work with the other communities. The only way we're going to pull this through is by regional effort and working together with those around us. Escambia County can't do it alone. The city of Pensacola can't do it alone. Even Escambia and city of Pensacola working together can't do it alone. We need to work with our other counties, both east and west of us, to continue to move this thing forward. So I think that collaboration is what will allow us to move forward. Those three things being focused on workforce and collaboration and infrastructure. Thank you. In answering our first question, the candidates did much to address the second question regarding workforce development. So in the interest of time, we will instead proceed to our third and final question. For this question, we will have Ms. Moore answer first, followed by Mr. Guillory, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Valentino, and Mr. Underhill. And the last question is this. Crime and drugs ranked as the #2 concern among Escambia citizens according to PYP's 2014 Quality of Life Survey. If elected, how would you coordinate with local law enforcement to combat these problems? And first, Ms. Moore.
Well, I do intend to head to the National Night Out right after this is over. So coordinating with them, I intend to work with them. I intend to look to LOST funds and continue to look to them to support resource officers in our school, perhaps, to encourage substations, to work with programs that encourage our youths to join, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for the word right now. It's never easy to get the question first. Youth programs in our communities to get them involved in activities that take them off the streets and off the drives. You know, it was very disappointing when the young man from Croy was killed in our streets. It seems like we did everything right with him. His family was doing everything right with him. His brother had the NFL scholarship, NFL contract. He had the scholarship to play football, yet we still failed him, and he ended up on the street at the wrong time, the wrong place, and there was a gun, and his life ended. So I know there's a lot of work that we need to do out there in the streets to keep our children safe and our communities safe. So that is definitely a high priority for me. Thank you.
Growing up in Warrington, I've always known that crime and drugs in those neighborhoods are a big problem. But crime and drugs are a symptom of a larger problem. That problem goes back to education, goes back to the lack of jobs that people find in these neighborhoods, and the despair that comes from that. And the greatest way that we can combat the problem of drugs and crime in these neighborhoods is to come up with an education system that promotes people, job system that gives people hope to look forward to a better standard of life. Because when people get good jobs and educations, they create communities, they create neighborhoods, they buy their own homes. And the neighborhoods create and foster more of the same. You know, in the past in Escambia County, growing up here, we grew up in a neighborhood where people were always watching out for us and what we were doing. We couldn't go home without everybody in the neighborhood knowing what we were doing. But it's not that way anymore in Escambia County in a lot of these areas. There are no sense of community in the neighborhoods. Rebuilding the sense of community in neighborhoods working to get them jobs and a better education. Thank you. The answer is enforcement and opportunity. The enforcement comes from dealing with the issues of working with law enforcement that we do have, supporting them and allowing them to be more present in what they're doing. And we've done some of that. Escambia County has certainly done some of that this past year. The other problem is opportunity, the other thing. I've much spoken to the issue of workforce, absolutely looking at those things. But the other bigger issue than opportunity is also what we've done as a county. When you look at what the county's already been doing with, if you talk about incarceration, the county was doing with the road prison. The county has a program to teach people how to weld, give them skills, give them opportunity. Clearly, we need to be doing this. One of the things I think us doing the jail, we need to be doing and moving forward and moving that opportunity to continue to grow that. Clearly, we've got to go with the new jail, but I think that will allow itself to dovetail into the opportunities that I think sit before this commission, some of the decisions that will be made over the next 4 years that I'm very excited to be a part of. So I think those are probably the two words that sum up the best of what we need to do to deal with crime. Thank you.
In the last committee of the whole meeting, the 5 commissioners gathered and we had to redefine what was going on with our jail after our most recent explosion, where 2 died. One was critically injured and just many injuries. It gave us time to pause and think about what we should do. We stood back and took a hard look at what the future of incarceration should be in Escambia County, what our role is. We met with Judge Shackelford and the rest of the team, Judge Terry Terrell, Judge Nobles, and others. And we got a lot of good input. We are proposing a jail campus. The jail campus will be for the training of deputies to help them, not just in Pensacola and in the county, but to be a regional profit outsourced profit center, if you will, an enterprise fund. Excuse me. That this enterprise fund welcomes trainees to this facility from the Southeast United States. In addition, so we're improving the quality of our law enforcement in that vein. Separately, at the other extreme, Grover just alluded to it, an expanded training program for welding, electrical, plumbing, not to mention the GED program, for the incarcerated to be trained, to be more effectively used as workforce in the community, and to be able to have a more safe and have a more safe jail in the first place, so that we can be a facility that we're proud of.
John, this is a very important question. Do you mind rereading it, please?
Yes, the last question. Crime and drugs ranked as the #2 concern among Escambia citizens according to PYP's Quality of Life Survey. If elected, how would you coordinate with local law enforcement to combat these problems?
The answer is that I will stop fighting with the sheriff. I will stop fighting with the sheriff, and I will start working with the sheriff and the deputies that are the ones that actually are out there putting their lives on the line to secure our lives and property. I will work with the other county commissioners to fully fund the sheriff's department up to the 1.7 deputies per 1,000 that the FDLE says is the standard. Once we get to that standard, then we're going to also look at not just the town and the community that we're trying to, or that we are, but the community that we're trying to be, and we're going to check and see if we need to go beyond that. And here's why. Most of you, I assume, do not live in those neighborhoods where those sheriff's deputies are out there working every single night. I live on Perdido Key, and quite frankly, we don't see a whole lot of the sheriff's deputies out there. The reason that we don't see them there, and the reason that you don't see them in the numbers that they should be in your community, the reason that we're not seeing them in the numbers that they should be in our schools, where they can be preventing, is because of a simple math and simple triage. They have to be in those neighborhoods that are the most dangerous in our community, and there just aren't enough deputies out on the street to go around and do all the things that we need done. It's a very simple solution, and it starts by simply having a civil discourse with the other elected, constitutionally elected officials here in the county. Thank you.
finally, we'd like to give each one of you 30 seconds to make any closing remarks. We will start with Mr. Underhill, followed by Mr. Valentino, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Guillory, and finally Ms. Moore. So please, Mr. Underhill, your closing remarks.
Thank you, John. For those who are playing buzzword bingo, collaboration is the #1 buzzword of the night. You've heard it from everybody. Okay? I'm the only one standing up here who has been endorsed by the sheriff, and not just the sheriff, but also the Fraternal Order of Police and the Police Benevolent Association. That tells you all the gentlemen who are responsible for securing us. I've also been endorsed by 3 members of the ECUA, the other board that we have to work together with. I've also been endorsed by Mike Hill. I have promised each of them only one thing. Everything that we discuss, we will discuss the honest facts and we will do it civilly. I can't say that I'm going to agree with you, but when we're done disagreeing, we'll still be on the same team and we'll be working together for the next solution. Thank you.
I do thank you again for allowing me the time and having had the privilege to serve you these last 8 years. And the only difference between me and my opponents up here, other than Grover, is the fact that some people can walk the walk, but you got to talk the talk. And you got to be able to go through the issues and experiencing firsthand. I'm the only one only one up here that has put over $3.5 million a year back into this community with the 23 employees we have in this community. I'm very proud of that, and it's part of the investment we have made in this community. It's not about civility, it's about team play, and sometimes you got to know how to behave and work with other people when it's not going in the best interests of the citizens. And I challenge any of my opponents to be able to take the bullets and arrows. And should we have raised your taxes $18 million, if you want to talk about the sheriff, when he asked to continue to run the jail? We said no. We took over the jail and there was no tax increase. And I'll fight the fight and run the hard line in the years ahead. Thank you.
I would like to end by thanking PYP for doing this. I think it's very good, especially in development of young leaders. If we're going to be a community that moves forward, we've got to have young leaders moving forward. I think this is such a great organization, and I'm very glad that you had this meeting and the opportunity to be here. Again, I believe what I've been able to show, what I've been able to do with leadership speaks to my leadership ability and ability to work with others. I need your vote and your support on November 4th for Grover Robinson for District 4 Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I would join the PYP, but next month you just have to kick me out. I started this campaign a year ago in July, when the first candidate to decide to run for this office. And the reason I did is because talking to my friends and neighbors, having worked with other campaigns in the neighborhoods, I've gone around knocking on doors, talking to people wearing out a lot of shoe leather. And what I kept hearing was that nobody was hearing their voices. There are people in the county and in my district who have been complaining about issues for 8 years, 10 years, longer, and nobody's been listening to them. What I want to do is be open to the whole of the community and not just certain powerful people. So in August, if you're a Democrat and you live in District 2, I hope you like to vote for me. It's Ray Guillory, and you can find out more about me at rayguillory.com. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deb Moore for Escambia County. Not hard to remember. I am not running against these two over here. My opponent is sitting behind me right now, but I don't have $3.5 million to put into this community. I do have a lot of hours of blood, sweat, and tears that I have volunteered in this community, and for that, I'm willing to serve again as your county commissioner in District 2, and I'm very proud of the work I've done in this community. Please pick up one of my bios and read it, and look at my website. Thank you very much.
Thank you you all very much for your time this evening and for your commitment to take on the challenges of our community.